Alrighty, I guess it's about time to get started. Good morning, everyone. As you could tell, Terry is not here this morning. He's out of town doing the FC camp, and so in light of that, me and Dad will be presenting our trip report. We went to Guatemala a few weekends back, and so we will be telling you all about that. I'll start us off with a word of prayer, and then we will get into it. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this wonderful day that you've given us, an opportunity you've given us this morning to come together, to learn more about you and to worship you, God. I pray everything that's done and said is in accordance to your will, God, and that you would be pleased with our service. In your Son's holy name we pray. Amen. So this is the different topics that we're going to be going through this morning, starting off with an introduction to the country of Guatemala. So we flew into Guatemala City on a Thursday, and that next day we traveled to the town in which we stayed in, which is Quetzaltenango, I believe is how it's pronounced. Short, it's called Chela. That's what they call the town. And it's the second largest city in Guatemala, and it's over 7,500 feet above sea level. They have several volcanoes between 10 and 12,000 feet, and just a lot of beautiful landscape and countryside and everything. The population of Chela is about 180,000 in 2018, and for those of you who are in the Honduras trip, that's compared to about 20,000 in Campamento, so it's considerably larger of a town. And there's lots of police around, and like we always felt very safe, and nothing to be, no bad areas that we really went through or anything like that. The economy of Guatemala is primarily agricultural, coffee and sugar, bananas, that type of thing. And it's still considered a developing country. The population is more than 18 million. In comparison, Honduras is about half that size. And Catholicism is the dominant religion, as in most Latino countries, and there's quite a bit of Christianity, but most of it's Catholicism. It has, as I mentioned, it has a lot of beauty with mountains and volcanoes, and we went to a big lake, and I'm sure you'll see pictures of that and everything. So it was great out there. The main ethnic groups down there are Mayan and Garufuna, I believe. Some of the things are hard to pronounce. And that's basically like the Spaniards and like mixed with the natives and everything. Those are the two primary ones. And also there's a couple other smaller ethnic groups that are other indigenous people that are non-Mayan. Let me see here. Okay. So some of the other languages, most of it's about 70% of the people speak Spanish, and that's the official language of Guatemala, obviously. Other Mayan languages occupy about 30%, and there's about, I think there's like 6 or 7 or 8 different Mayan languages that are spoken over there, and but those are a little bit less common. I think those are more like in the countryside, and whereas in like the cities and everything, Spanish is still pretty much what's used predominantly. So the culture, as you can see, those top 3 pictures, those are from like markets that were in there, like in Chela, and also another town that we went to that was right by the big lake that's down there. And so they sell all types of different things. As you can see, like purses, little knickknacks, and food and everything. You can see in the bottom left picture that the countryside that's down there, it's very mountainous, several volcanoes, very beautiful. The middle bottom picture is from a mall that we went to, and it was a little bit surprising. The mall, it looked just like an American mall, something that we would have over here, and it was kind of different than like the city. The city looks a little bit different. And then on the bottom right, that's a lady down there, and if you notice, she's wearing like purple and gold, and that's very common. I think that's like a Mayan thing. Just the color pattern, that's very common with the clothing, is that purple and gold. Moving along, this was some of the beauty that was down there. We mentioned the countryside. We saw there's the lake down there at the bottom. many volcanoes and a beautiful lake and just the mountains and everything. It was gorgeous. Also, you can see at the top some of the architecture there. Those are old churches, and I think the circular structure there, that was in like kind of the main area of the city, the main plaza. And they had like a little park there and everything. It was a super cool experience, super beautiful. And then this is the people that we spent most of our time with. So at the bottom right, that's Mr. Everardo. He's the preacher for the church in Chela, and he's been preaching there, I want to say more than 30 years. His wife, Miss Myra, she's at the bottom. You can see next to Everardo is Bobby. He's the one who came with us on the trip. He's from CRF. He was kind of like a guide to us, and honestly, the trip would not have been possible without him. Behind him is Ayrton. He's the son-in-law of Myra and Everardo. He's also, I believe, a deacon at the church. And then his wife, Damaris, who's their daughter, Myra and Everardo's daughter, and then their two little kids. We spent almost all our time, especially with Everardo and Ayrton, just going around to visiting different people there and in the town, and then also visiting. They had like a school, an academy for some of the kids there, and they really took us and like showed us around, everything in Chela and meeting all the people in the congregation, and it was definitely a pleasure. Just amazing people, super enjoyable to be around. Everardo and Ayrton, they spoke a decent amount of English. Between their broken English and mine and Bobby's broken Spanish, we kind of got by. We could figure it out. But yeah, it was a good time for sure. It was good meeting those people, and I believe that's all for me.
Got all my gear here. Peyton, my alarm's going to go off to remind me to be quiet and to shut up. Kind of get carried away when I start talking about the trips because they're so exciting. There's so much information that I lose track of time. So I definitely need all the help I can get for sure. It was kind of funny if we go back a little bit. So Myra Everardo's wife really took to Peyton because he could speak Spanish, and so she was like his adopted grandmother while he was there. So she was totally drawn to him and took him under her wing. So it was a great experience for us. As you look in the top left-hand corner, you'll see the worship service. So the worship service at the church there is a rented facility. It is a covered soccer facility, as you might be able to tell. And they rent it for a couple hours on Sunday. So they have to get in there, set all the chairs up, set up the sound system, do all of that, do the service, and then have everything torn down within 2 hours is how they rent that. So a little bit of John can relate a little bit, having to tear up, build up and tear down, definitely when we had services on the inside and outside. So, but it was a great service. We really enjoyed it. The person on the top right, he was the preacher at that particular time. And then the middle one is actually one of my favorite things. I'd never seen this before. So after the Lord's Supper, they had the collection, normal, like we would have pre-COVID. And they did the collection, but after that, they had all of the children line up. And each one of them had a bag of food, some type of rice or something like that. And they all brought it forward like that. We were watching it, and we were just shocked, but it was such a neat practice. And I thought, what a great thing. So I reached out to Ayrton to find out the origin of that. And they said, really, they use that to be able to help some of the needy families in the church. And if there's none of that, they do have needy people in the community as well that they could help. So there's always a purpose behind it. And he said they're teaching their children the model of 2 Corinthians 9. the cheerful giver. So it was a great practice. I thought that was just so encouraging to see that. John, can you play the lower left one there?
Tú por mí, mi celestial mansión, mi trono de esplendor, de que por rescatar al mundo pecador, si todo yo dejé por ti.
That last part is me singing there. I think I tried to jump in there and I'm like, oh, why did I do that? But what is so encouraging, as you could recognize a hymn in our hymnals that we also sing, it doesn't matter the country, the culture, the race, the language, God is being praised and lifted up in praise and song. The truth from God's word is being proclaimed. So all of those things are so awesome to experience in a different country. So we really enjoyed that. The last picture on the lower right-hand side. On Friday night, some of the young men will gather together, and Everardo and I think some others also will lead a Bible class for them. I think they were studying denominations, I believe, and so they were looking at Martin Luther and John Calvin and some of the origins of those things. So that was their Friday night lesson. All right, so now we're looking at the Bible Institute. The Bible Institute was formed in the early 90s. And so what happens if you look at the picture on the top right there, you'll see, I think, 8 different men that are gathered to, and they are preachers from the area that will come together and they will learn from Everardo. And there was another older man that was leading the class. And so they gather together for 1 week out of every quarter. So they will travel to Chela. They've got mattresses stored there. And if you look at the bottom middle there, you can see that's the kitchen. And so there is a woman, an older woman, that has been preparing meals for them since 1993. So we thought it was great to meet her. She also had an understudy, sous chef perhaps, that was there, and she was helping her prepare meals. And all of the little buildings that you see there, they had chickens, pigs, duck. They had several different animals. I can't remember them all, but so they had everything prepared. It was really neat. But the Bible Institute is something that has really helped these preachers in the area learn more and prepare more and be more prepared for their congregations. All right. And we talked, Peyton mentioned CRF a little bit, and the children that are being sponsored in Guatemala at the top left. You'll see the person, the lady to the left, the young woman, and then the gentleman between Bobby and Peyton. Those two are graduating this year from the program. So it was neat to see them. And then the lower right, the one in the orange shirt in the middle, he was the teacher that day. So we got to see the class for a few minutes and see them. Bobby's grandmother actually sponsors the young girl in the lower left picture. Her name is Angelina, and she was a sweet girl. We went to the market. They got her clothes and shoes. She picked out sparkly princess shoes, of course, so it was interesting to watch that. And then you see pictures along the wall of the children that are sponsored there by various individuals. The strength of the church. So one thing when we start looking at the church that is unique among Latino churches is the group was big. It had like 100 people. So as a comparison, the church in Honduras in Campamento was around 40 to 50 at the most. So it was a larger group, and the leadership was there. So they had 3 elders and 4 deacons, very rare, but great to meet all of those folks. And the talent was unbelievable. So Everardo told us that he wasn't preaching, so I thought it was just the other preacher. He said, no, they have 12 men that they rotate through and preach every Sunday, and that was shocking. But so lots of good things going on there. Some of the challenges, as I'd mentioned, is the no permanent meeting place. So what that means is obviously they don't have Bible classes that they're able to have for the children, and they really want to resume those. Right now, the price of land is probably similar to us and what we're experiencing. The price of housing and land is a lot more expensive. And so right now, to buy land and be able to build something is not something that they can do at this time. Another need that they have are some of the Bible study materials, similar to what we had purchased for the church in Campamento for Maximo at some point in time. Cultural challenges, we started going and I started seeing the sign for auto hotels. I'm like, auto hotels? And then I look over and I see it looks like a, probably like a storage unit, you know, and then I put it together, I'm like, oh no, that's not good. There's nothing good going on in a auto hotel, I'm sure of it. But that's one of the challenges. Those were common. We probably saw at least 3 or 4 of those between Chela and Guatemala City. So that was something that was a little bit of surprise. Opportunities. Obviously, we can do the Bible study materials and to purchase those. There's an opportunity to do that, perhaps help them with the purchase of the land. And as we were talking to Bobby about help them, so they wanted 3 separate facilities, or maybe together, I'm not sure, but I think on one piece of property, they wanted a building for the church, a building for the Bible Institute, and a building for the children and the school and so forth. I said, we may be interested in participating in building the church building and maybe acquiring a land as well. I said, that's definitely a possibility. I said, what are we looking at as far as cost? He said, well, for that piece of it, at least building the church building is about $30,000. And so we just kind of look at each other, what? It's hard to relate to and imagine, but that would provide them everything they need as far as a space to have Bible classes and to have a great setup for worship. So that's probably about the range that we're looking at. Another opportunity is to begin, there's no groups that are currently traveling there and helping like in Honduras and Campamento. So that is really the whole reason that Bobby reached out to us and contacted us. He watched us in our week in Honduras for at least a couple of years, and he saw how we were able to have the focus, a spiritual focus, the focus on the church, the focus on evangelizing, and he loved it. And he wanted other groups to have that type of focus. So he said, listen, this church in Guatemala is a great church and they need some help. And so we agreed, and this was pre-COVID, a long time ago. We had purchased my ticket, and then later I had purchased Peyton's and brought my interpreter with me. He's very useful several times. I always was telling her, hey, Peyton, tell him this. He was a big help. But that was really an opportunity that we can do. We could set the spiritual curriculum, not only for the church and the children, but also the community. We would like to do similar as far as a VBS type of thing, maybe in the schools, similar to Honduras, but also have adult classes running in parallel with that. So that's just some of the opportunities that the elders can consider and take a look at. Lots of blessings from this, not only from Peyton and myself, but also for the folks there. It is very encouraging when people travel from America to come see them and to invest in them and to invest in the local work there. It also, another thing that I hadn't considered that Bobby pointed out, he said, it really gives credibility and influence to the preacher, Everardo, but also to the church in general in the community. Well, you have Americans coming, and they suddenly will be more apt to listen. There's that credibility piece of it there and the influence that they're able to have. So there are many more blessings, but that's just a couple. All right, so I'm moving on. If you guys have any questions or comments at any time, I should have mentioned that at the beginning. You're welcome to raise your hand, and I'll take anything. Scott?
Do they have similar, and of course I'm just thinking from Honduras experience, do they have similar scenarios there, since it's a larger area, group of people, a whole different kind of situation? Are there any similar studies that go on like there is in Honduras, like going to people's homes? You know, I don't know if the area is larger, so I don't know if there's more of that feel or not. I don't know.
Right, right. What we notice is that Friday night, they have that Bible class. And we weren't there long enough because we got there on a Thursday and left on a Monday. So I'm not sure. And we left actually Sunday afternoon after church to go back to Guatemala City since our flight was so early. So, yeah, that's a great question. I think part of that is that Friday night Bible study. But I'm not sure how much more that they gather other than that. It seems like in Honduras it's every day practically. I think they may have one day off. But other than that, they're gathering together with some group in some form or fashion.
Well, I know Bobby had mentioned to us originally when he came to us and talked about us going
Yeah.
carrying what we did down there, that the community, the area there was really harder ground. That's the words he used.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, I don't know, you got a feel for that?
Yeah, I think to answer your question is that in Honduras, it's a poor type of community. People don't have as much, so they seem to be more receptive, and that's in general. We experience that here in the United States as well. In general, when you don't have anything, the Lord sounds really appealing. But when you have a lot, the Lord is not, you know, you're not, the Lord's not as high a priority. So that is a challenge in the community because it is a little more affluent. You see the town, and as Peyton was pointing out, the neoclassical architecture. They had immigrants from Germany and Italy and Spain, and so it really looks like walking down the cities of Europe versus Latin America. So it's definitely has that part of it. So I can see where in the worldliness, auto hotels, stuff that would be pull them away from desiring a relationship with the Lord. So maybe that was some of the challenges he was talking about. Anything else? All right, I'll get into some of the fun stuff. As you see in the left-hand corner there, that is a fruit. Rambutan, I guess is how you pronounce that, or rambutan, yeah, that would be better, is the fruit. And Bobby went and he purchased a big sack of that. And he said, you guys got to try that. Anyone that knows me very well, I'm not real adventurous on food. I'm a little picky, but hey, anything goes when you're traveling out of country. So I took it, and you take it with your thumbs, you break it apart, and you can see the fruit on the inside of it. There's a seed, a large seed in the middle of that, but you just eat all of the meat around the seed. It was very good. It doesn't look that great, but it was really good. I was surprised, so we enjoyed that. So our GPS adventure. So we're leaving. We went to church. We traveled to the lake on the way back to Guatemala City, and we had a nice dinner, nice lunch there, and enjoyed the scenery. And we were working our way back to Guatemala City, and Bobby takes his GPS and follows it. So he starts going through and following it. We go on this road miles, and we see less people, less cars, less buildings. We start getting concerned, and then we start seeing a private property. And then we come up to this big, it was kind of a, they were growing something there. So we're like, okay, we're in the middle of drug lord country. So we start getting nervous. And then right after that, we start talking about that, kind of laughing, and then the road is washed out. And we're like, oh no. We actually had to get out and find a way through the road. So we did, and the road started normal again. And so we were like, okay, we're going to make it. Well, we get to this spot, and the road is completely washed out. And we're in a little rental car, and there's no way to travel. If we had a truck, we probably could go across this stream, but no way in the car, so we had to turn around and go back. So our 2-hour trip to Guatemala City ended up being about 3.5 or 4 hours, but we made it. We were thankful. A little nervous along the way, but we made it. All right, so you look at that order there. That's what I was looking at. So I said, Peyton, what is that? He was, I'm not real sure. And I said, it really looks like chicken nuggets to me. I thought, something safe. That sounds great. And so I ordered that. It was not chicken nuggets. It was chicken gizzards. And I had I've never had gizzard before, and it can be prepared and it be tender and moist and nice, I'm told. This was not that. It was very tough. So I choked down probably 1.5, and then I was like, okay, I'm all done. That's good enough. So be sure what you order when you order it and you're traveling. You always have some kind of adventure. So any other questions? I do have some more information to go through besides this, so no problem. And if you think of something afterwards, don't hesitate to reach out to me, come up to me, call me, text me, email me, whatever. I'll be glad to answer any questions on that. All right. What I'm going to show you a little bit now is we just got a trip report from Maximo and Daisy from Honduras, so I'll just cover a little bit of that. Their second quarter, so this is April through June, that they had, and things are getting more back to normal. The one thing that they are not able to participate in is the children's Bible classes yet. They hope to launch those soon. In the bottom right-hand quarter, you see a leadership meeting, that weekly leadership meeting that they have with men in the church there. And if you look at the man in the mask in the lower right-hand corner, his name is Henry Ovando, and he is Jeffrey's father. And when we first went there, he was not attending church at all. And that was our very first trip because we really got to know Jeffrey on our first trip, and we all fell in love with him and really enjoyed spending time with him. But it was a little bit surprised that his father wasn't involved with the church. I think his mother was attending, but his father was not. But he has grown and progressed in those 2 or 3 years since then. So it is such a blessing, so encouraging. And those who are on Facebook or are friends with that group will occasionally see him in those posts active in the church. So that is really encouraging and really neat to see. All right, some of their home ministries, and Scott was talking about this. They call it the mobile church in the lower right-hand corner, but they will travel to different homes throughout the week, probably twice a week at least, and they'll go to sing and have Bible study and pray together. So it's very encouraging for those who are located a good distance away from the church building themselves that are not able to make the Wednesday night Bible study that they have. So that is one thing that is neat to see. Let's see. Moving on. So we see Vivian Mejia Rivera and her being baptized there. That was one of their baptisms that they had. The opportunities that they had to help those who are in need, who are in the church, that they help. And you see a family, old people and younger people as well. Those who are in need are being assisted. So that is, they are blessed to participate in that. And then we see the sharing with the Trujillo brothers. And so Maximo was traveling to do Bible studies a good distance away, and he was not able to do that during the pandemic, and he was just recently able to resume that. And is really enjoying that opportunity to be able to speak unto them and to present the gospel to them. And those folks are very appreciative of his efforts that he makes in doing that. And they are so active in the community, and we've gotten to know and form a close bond and relationship with Maximo and Eduardo, the two main preachers there. And they are on it. They are all the time busy spreading the gospel, encouraging and teaching the body. And so they really have a lot to offer and have a lot of energy, and they get a lot done. So they are a blessing to that congregation and also to the area as well. But we hope to go back to we'd love to go back to Honduras, and Lord willing, we'll have that opportunity to do that, and perhaps we'll have an opportunity to also travel to Guatemala. I would see, I would say there's area of need in both places, just different. And so we have an opportunity to participate in a couple of different ways. So look forward to that. Any other questions or anything? If not, yeah, Joe?
Yeah, did you get a sense of the, based on the slide that there in rotation, there's 12 people, 12 men sharing the word at their assembly. What's their outreach look like? Or did you get a chance to?
We didn't really get a chance to get a feel for that. And so that was one thing that I meant to do, but we were just bouncing from one place to another. We went from their studies for their folks, studies for the preachers, and then the visit to the schools and to see the children as well. But that just was not something that we were able to find out more about. But yeah, I would definitely be interested in that as well. That's a good question. I'll have to look at that. Anything else? All right. Well, you're going to have a few extra minutes to be able to have fellowship with one another before classes break, and then we'll start the assembly at 10:30. Thank you.